inevitably wipes out the middle class. I mean, just think in recent...
Texas Congressman Ron Paul delivers a message of liberty. Former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson also delivers a message of liberty. Both men agree it's not about the messenger, it's about the message.
I am but a spokesman for the liberty movement. As Ron Paul has said, I think Ron Paul's candidacy is going to officially come to an end here next month. And when that happens, there is a viable alternative to voting for Ron Paul, and it's not a compromise vote.
Ron Paul supporters have several choices, which many won't determine until after the Republican convention. Some, who believe the future of the Libertarian movement lies in the Republican Party, may vote for Mitt Romney if the RNC embraces some libertarian ideas in Tampa. Then there are those who believe the two establishment parties have totally forsaken liberty and that neither the Republicans nor the Democrats deserve their vote. That's the group Gary Johnson hopes to lure.
Is there any chance that Ron Paul would give you his endorsement? Have you heard anything along those lines? And if so, how much of a difference could that make?
Well, it would make a huge difference. I am getting to speak at Paul Fest. I think that obviously comes with an invitation from Ron Paul, so looking forward to that. And you know what? Ron Paul is a spokesperson for the liberty movement.
I'd like to talk about what I talk about all the time, and that's liberty. So,
I'm a spokesperson for the liberty movement, and I think the liberty movement is the fastest growing segment of American politics today, that it's the one with all the legs, and it really is the movement that genuinely talks about solutions that go along with the problems that we're facing.
And when you compare Johnson to Paul on their solutions, they sound very similar.
have sound money, get rid of the regulations, reduce the taxes, bring our troops home.
I think we are driving over a cliff, and that the solution to this is balancing the federal budget, and that it's doing it now. There's no delay. And in this case, as me being the third party, I do think there's a choice that balancing the budget is really, really important. Civil liberties, somebody standing up for civil liberties.
Giving up liberty in order to gain protection from the government is foolhardy, and we should never have to give up any of our freedoms to provide security for ourselves.
And then ending the wars. Let's end our military conflicts. Let's get out of Afghanistan tomorrow. Let's bring the troops home.
When you get a former Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates, coming home and finally getting out of that business, saying, anybody who thinks we need another war needs their head examined. And I agree.
Of what we're doing right now, I think, ultimately is going to lead to a monetary collapse in this country. And a monetary collapse, very simply, is when the dollars that we have won't buy a thing. Because of the ensuing inflation that goes along with printing money to the tune of 43 cents out of every dollar that we're spending, our dollars aren't going to buy anything.
When the crisis came in 2008, it was announced, well, if we don't bail out the banks, everybody's going to suffer. There will be a depression. So what did we do? Spend trillions and trillions of dollars bailing out the people who were making all this money, and guess what? The people got the depression and the people lost their homes.
Abolish the IRS, abolish corporate tax, abolish income tax, abolish withholdings from your payroll check. I'd like to replace that with one federal consumption tax. I am advocating the fair tax, which I think is cost neutral over a very short amount of time.
Johnson has just a very short amount of time to convince Ron Paul supporters to jump aboard the Gary Johnson Express. If he doesn't get to 15% in the polls, he won't get to participate in the televised debates. And if the voice of liberty is not heard in those debates, both Paul and Johnson supporters would end up losing. Some would also argue that America winds up losing. I'm Larry Blucher for QuestionableThings.com.